Justin McFarlane. Welcome to the
McFarlane.
podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's a powerful name. Scottish.
It's Scott. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
So you're a GM of Jackpot Party Casino.
That's
A
right.
pretty big game.
Yeah.
But I'd love to talk about that. I'd love to talk about how you became a general manager, how you worked at SciPlay for 17 years. I'd like to talk about LiveOps. I'd like to talk about how you introduce complex features to casual audiences. But what I really want to start this off with is in the pre-recording,
Mm-hmm.
you're taking this podcast from Cedar Falls,
Yes.
which for the unknown audience in everywhere is a 40,000 person town
Yep.
in Midwest.
Yeah, Iowa. Well, Cedar Falls has been for me where I've grown up. The company is it's been the studio where social gaming for SciPlay really started off. It's where Jackpot Party was founded, which a lot of people don't know. It's where we built the team originally. It's where we first launched the product. And what happened was throughout COVID, we've expanded the company multiple months over the last decade, going into Austin, Texas, going to Tel Aviv, Israel. We're trying to bring in product knowledge to Jackpot Party. We're trying to bring more experts to the game team. And so we allowed ourselves to kind of, lean into the remote working as it became a little bit more prominent in the industry. Our entire product team, our entire analytics team was in Austin, and our entire development studio, some of the people that I've worked with my entire career that a lot of my success, I dictate around Michael Gasman, who is our director of engineering, is based out of Cedar Falls, Iowa. So you have the development team here in Cedar Falls, Iowa, where it's always been. And suddenly we had this product and analytics team in Austin, Texas, which was great for the time. We were doing what a lot of companies were doing during COVID, just making it work. And, we thought there was this illusion that it was something that was okay. It was all right conditions. We were able to use technology to able to have video calls, having conversations like you and I are having right now. Like, it was feasible. It was something that was sustainable. As a GM, I'm a huge advocate. Like, the product is a reflection of the environment it's built in. It's a reflection of the chemistry as a team you have working together. And you're starting to see that disconnect, not only in the product itself, but in some of the strategies. And then you are certainly see it in the morale of the team and the understanding and just the overall engagement. And what was missing was really that, just the thing I love about making games in the first place. It's just that connection, working with people, and that spirit of collaboration that it takes, because it's making games. It's creative, it's collaborative, it's whiteboards, it's standing up, it's energy, it's all that stuff that goes into games. And that fourth wall of trying to get people to work together was just a huge barrier. So we made the decision in December, and it's kind of ironic because I'm talking to you in a temporary office as we invest in the new studio and remodeling it. Like, the environment is a reflection of where we're at as a game team, because it's very much rebuilding for the team on Jackpot Party, bringing members from Austin, Texas, asking our product team members to relocate from Austin. Which is a really, really tough choice for a lot of those people. And some of the people who weren't able to do it, we made the hard choice of prioritizing the team over individuals. And so that meant bringing new leadership in and moving on from some leadership, because we said we want people together. One of the things that we believe in at SciPlay is playing together, and playing together is what helps drive great gameplay. And so we made the tough decision to move on. So we're building a new leadership team on the game. We're renovating the office space. So there's a lot going on right now, I guess, is kind of where you're going at with the question, I should say.
Was there any business decision behind it?
I think it was, there's a lot of data points, a lot of team members. We have a really, really strong production staff that leans into production data. So you can see in stuff in terms of the gaps in even just working and completed and the time between stuff. So there's certainly an element of that type of data. But I have to say the intangibles, the feeling is really what drove it, and really supporting the development team, the art team that's in Cedar Falls already, the existing talent that we've built over the years. And probably adapting, at least from our standpoint, maybe this is a little bit egotistical, but it's what Phantom or SciPlay has done for years. For 15 years, we've brought people who haven't had necessarily experience in the game industry, but they had passion and they had raw talent and they had drive. And that's what, like, as a business, it's like, let's get back to what was growing talent, what worked for us 15 years ago, what worked with us a decade ago.
And now you're in a stage where you've changed the locations, you're integrating your team to work out of Cedar Falls. How did you manage to do this transition? How did you manage to keep the business up and going and growing?
It's a little rocky. I'll tell you, as good as we could. Because at that same point, your transition, you're identifying who is going to be able to make that jump. So you have to answer who is going to be a part of the team. And then you have to continue to run the business in the short term. We just fortunate a couple of the members, actually yesterday was their first day in office, and it was like the payoff, the reward was right there. Like, you saw it. You saw everybody like literally like high-fiving, hugging, happy to be together, being one another. But how we try to manage is we try to say, hey, we've come out and said that's important for people to work together. People obviously can't move in a day, in a week. We have to have an onboarding process. So we try to get people to come up and visit at least a couple times for a weekend and to start that process. With that, there was a lot of just, okay, this is a new leadership group that we're building. This is a new game team. We have to run the day to day. So there's some things that we have to do. We're probably doing that a little bit more top down in terms of the strategies that we're putting out, in terms of the decisions that we're making. But it's a good opportunity for us to just look at all of our processes, all of the things we do as a game team, and just reevaluate, like, is that the right way for us to do it? And we're talking about things like, how do we build our LiveOps calendar? What do those phases look like? Are they as efficient as they could be? Do they serve a purpose? Do they serve the team? So there was a lot of just kind of rebuilding some of those processes, just because it's different people who are going to be involved with the process, and people have different, expertise. They have different ways that they want to do things.
Another thing that I really wanted to hear from you is like, how come you've been at SciPlay for 17 years? That's not normal.
I started in art and UI design, 3D modeling. It's probably not a consistent GM path, to be honest. And if you would have told me I would have been in slots for 17 years, I would have said I would not have expected to do that. And once I graduated, I moved back home and I started shipping out my demo reel to different studios across the world, looking for that first gig. And by chance, I found at the time what was called Phantom Effects, which was a small game studio that basically made, at the time, they made slot games that were just sold brick and mortar stores, like at Walmart for like $20. It wasn't free to play. It wasn't mobile. Mobile games weren't even a thing. This was back in 2008. So it was a long time. And so I was brought in basically to do UI work, to help do menu design and art background. But I'm the type of individual, I love to learn. I love challenges. I love that. That's what's rewarding to me, is trying to do new things. And so when I was working at the studio, one, I just love the people. So when you love the people you work with, that's the number one thing. It's going to be always hard to leave a place like that, because you learn to work with different people. And two, this was right around the time that the studio was exploring and doing new things. And one of those new things was Facebook gaming at the time. Like, somebody like Josh was on the podcast. I don't know if he's ever told the story about how we built Jackpot Party, but it was literally like three guys. I was brought in to do UI at the time and art. We had an engineer whose name is Forrest Stowe. He's now the CTO of the company. And Josh was effectively our product manager at the time. And we saw had a game on Facebook. It was using Unity, and we just said, "Hey, can we put it on? Can we do that?" And I'm really shortening the story. Obviously, there's a lot of details that I don't want to leave out or anything like that. But there was no expectations with that project. It was just trying something new. And obviously it became something that blew up. And I kind of love to tell the story where, like, everybody's celebrating around the DAU, the revenue, how quickly the game is getting adopted. Meanwhile, poor Forrest is having like a meltdown because he's trying to build this server architecture on the fly. And it turned into something that nobody really expected. And I think the reason I tell that story is because that's what I love about the company. It's always never been afraid to try new things. It's never been afraid to innovate. And so my growth is a reflection of the company's growth, because it's always been an opportunity, as if you're the right person with the right passion and the right thirst to learn and try to be challenged, it is the best environment in mobile gaming. I mean, and maybe honestly in any industry, if you ask me. So when people ask me, how have you been at the same company for 17 years? My answer is usually like, why would I ever leave? I've been challenged. I've had career development. I've been able to tackle new projects. I work with some of the most talented people in the industry. And every day I get to learn something new. It's an incredibly rewarding experience. I'm a very fortunate person. So that's, that's the answer I give people when I talk about why I've worked.
So from a 3D artist to eventually a general manager over not 17 years. So first
Yep.
7 years you were on
Yep.
art track, and then somehow you
Yep.
pivoted to general management. Can you talk a little bit about, like, to somebody who's 3 years in their company, who is a 3D artist or an animator or even an art director, like, how do you move from that position to general management? What are the important elements that you looked into? And overall, how do you think about career change? Because going from an art track to a business track is just resetting your progress.
Sure.
So I'm just curious of, like, how did your decision making go, and what were the steps that took you to such a drastic career choice?
So I think the first jump I made really was from art to like production based, like maybe not so much project management, but production in terms of like we talk about why I personally liked getting into the industry. It was like working with different people of different backgrounds to make something reality. That was my passion. I like working with people, and I like taking something that's an idea to reality. And that fell very in line with production. They needed somebody to say, hey, we have a whole lot of people who want to do something cool, but we need somebody to kind of bring it together, almost like Eddie Dorsey, who is a phenomenal production mind at the company, says somebody who could be the glue for the operation. And that's something that I think naturally kind of falls into my personal wheelhouse. But in terms of like trying to take that step and what the steps I had to do, I think the biggest thing is just taking the time to learn. And that's something like I'm a very curious person. And I would advocate to anybody, like, the number of hours I've spent outside of the normal 9 to 5 of just learning things, like learning Jira, which is not the most exciting thing in the world. Like, like I know enough about it, but like I'm almost I don't get Atlassian mad at me, but like it's like the nerdiest part of the job. But to have people who have that knowledge, it makes an impact on the game team. It helps the cause. It helps us bring our vision together. And so naturally, like I try to advocate, like, don't get so focused on where you want to be. Focus more on the things you want to learn and where you want to improve. And the rest can take care of itself. Like if you're somebody who's like, I want to learn that, I want to understand that, I want to question that, I want to challenge that. Those are the type of things I think that have helped me personally. And the people that I've seen be successful around me as well are people who don't just wait, to be taught or instructed, but looking for gaps in the organization, looking for gaps in their own knowledge space, and just trying to be proactive about learning. And that is what SciPlay tries to do. It tries to provide opportunity for people who have that passion to learn and improve their career and learn things outside, if it doesn't matter if you're in QA and you want to learn production, there's tracks there where they can go out and find that information. We built around like the LinkedIn learning platform and built in our own Nick Elliott and Matt Beecher at the company are working on something called SciPlay Academy, which provides all this video content to anybody that's out there to just learn how to do things that are outside of your wheelhouse. Because the more well-rounded we are as a team, the better we are going to be as a team. And that also helps people make those type of jumps.
How do you take what kept you at SciPlay, empowerment and ambition of the entire company? How do you kind of distill that to your team so that they are as bought into what you're doing, and they are experiencing the same career progression or similar? Of course, you started with a much smaller company, but they're
Yep.
also experiencing that wide career progression where you, from an artist, you can become,
Mhm.
general producer and general manager. From a producer, you become an artist. I don't know if that goes the other way around, but but who
Yeah.
who can't draw a slot? Like,
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, that's the challenge. Because now, like as a team, we're what 72 people in Cedar Falls. It's a bigger, like when I started. Like I said, it was three. It was me, Josh, and Forrest, and then it was Patrick who built it in analytics, and it grew, but it was still always tightly knit. And suddenly, you have this massive team. So the ability to empower everyone to that level of impact is certainly a challenge, and it's just a constant. Is it's at some points it's making sure you don't make decisions for people. You don't go too top down. You let the team fail. You let the team have the opportunity to make decisions. You let them grow, and that is a challenge because sometimes like I'm somebody who likes to solve problems, so I will just like jump in and try to throw every solution I can think of, and I have to sometimes pause as GM because I have a different role. My role is to pass along that same empowerment that drives me, and so it's probably try to not do that as much and let the team members come up with solutions. Let the team members find where that next opportunity, that next gap is, and kind of let them steer the ship and get them the opportunity to have their voice heard. The more we can do that, the more sense of purpose we give the people that have an impact on the team. I won't say it's easy because it's much easier to just say, hey, I know what the answer is. I want to do that. Or at least I have a pretty good idea of what the answer is. So it's a daily effort to do that, but that is the goal: is to make sure everyone has that same level of empowerment, has that same level of sense of ownership, I should say, over the game that we have the opportunity to operate. It's like a top 10 game. Millions of people play the game every month, and so the opportunity to make that level of impact is there. It's on us as leaders to pass along that responsibility and that sense of empowerment.
What's the balance between you making the, direct decision and
Yeah,
you allowing the team to search for it?
it's recognizing the impact. Is this a decision that will kill the feature? Like, is this a decision in my gut? Like, it's just not going to be successful. So really, it's looking at the impact and what we can afford as a business, and trying to make some best guesses on when that is to make the decision versus when it's not.
Hmm. Well, interesting. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about, which is a big thing, is live ops.
Yeah.
Looking at SciPlay's success, like you've been growing year over year since 2013, pretty much.
Yep.
No matter who owns the company, no matter if there's IDFA, if there's not IDFA, if there's COVID, if there's not COVID, you guys keep growing. Can you talk a little bit how your live ops is structured and what makes it so good?
Yeah, well, it's still relatively jackpot party, still relatively new. Like if you look at the trajectory of the game, you saw a spike probably 2020, 2021 somewhere. And honestly, before that, like our live ops was very, very thin. Like we didn't even do like asset releases. We didn't even do content releases. I give a ton of credit to Daphne Benan, who came onto the project to help build our live ops. And so it was a lot of learning for us, for me as a GM, because I had to learn about what live ops was, what drove it, and we had to build basically mechanisms to be able to understand what moved players' behavior, what kind of challenges they like to engage with. Really, as a game team, and the number one goal for live ops is engagement based. And I don't think I'm the first person. Is like, how do we create a situation and environment where the game feels fresh every single day, and there's something new and unique to be able to challenge the player with, based on where they're at from a currency standpoint. And so for us over the last couple of years, there's a number of different angles to talk about live ops. There's the strategy of how we build our roadmap, how we build our calendar, how we build the promotions in game, how it all works together. There's how we measure it, which is what we spend a lot of time considering, like in terms of what is effective in game, what versus isn't. And there's honestly even the logistics of live ops. Like as a game team, like we had to go from a team that was very project based and planning long-term projects, they're used to building things over time, to suddenly we're making pivots and changes in the live game like on an hourly basis, which is a lot of thrash for a development team to be able to do that type of to reaction. So we had to basically sit down with the team and make sure they understood the impact that we make sure we gave the context to the decisions we were making when we're making a pivot, when we're adding a new promotion. I think one of the things that helps SciPlay be successful in the live ops space is not only how they recognize the importance of live ops in general, like how the game must be fresh, how it must be a live game and it's a destination, but also their sense of urgency and ability to analyze and evaluate how effective it is. So there's a lot of talented people who build, obviously the right way to evaluate and look at the game on an hourly basis versus our expectations, understand how our players are interacting with the game, and understand what's working and what isn't, And then we're not afraid as an organization to react and make changes like that, and very fast. And over the past couple of years, we've built processes like leaning more into Kanban and lean processes that allowed the team to pivot very quickly, um, and then build the right tooling to be able to support that type of thing. So like admin tools, being able to change the right levers. We have a ton of proprietary solutions to be able to manage and operate the live game. I could probably go on for an hour and just ramble on about live ops and all of the work that goes into making it happen. But I think at the end of the day, it's just the level of importance that SciPlay puts onto it. And that's why you see us be so successful in that space.
But can you, if you want to go a little bit more practical level, can
Sure.
you explain what you do on hourly basis, daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly? Like, what are the different elements of the live ops that you focus on different time spans? Like hourly is probably different type of offers, and
Yep.
just a little bit of concrete examples to just understand how how um how robust your live ops engine and work is.
Sure. So there's different levels of strategy that go into play with a live ops calendar. We look at it in terms of like a month is a series of campaigns. Every single day is part of a campaign, what we call like in terms of like this is what the player is going to care about on a given day. So we will sit down months in advance and we'll plan out the whole month. We'll know what important weekends, what's going on from like are there holidays that are going on, and we know things like our big meta features like party cards, which is this big collectible feature. It lasts 3 months. There's milestones in that fall on certain days. We have our Diamond Pass feature, which is Jackpot Party's Battle Pass. That expires every month. We know when that thing's going to end. And so you kind of identify your cornerstones of when big events are happening in the game. And then you understand your gaps, like when there's not a lot going on in the game. And you say, okay, we need to get creative here. We need to build something for the player that they're going to care about. Our goal is to make every day feel like it's December 25th, like it's Christmas. Like there's no such thing as a born day on Jackpot Party. So a lot of effort goes into just the strategic side of building out the calendar, of laying out the major events and challenges. And then you kind of go into more like the weekly planning of like, okay, we know we're going to do challenges. We know we're going to have these types of rewards. Then you get into the fine tuning of like all of the tuning and the different like segmentation that's going to happen. And you evaluate where the players are at currently in terms of like their different currencies, like their bank rolls for, we've got things like bingo balls, which ties into our bingo feature. We've got things like, obviously coins are staple of the economy, but there's a like diamonds, which drives the progression of Diamond Pass. There's all these different currencies that the players care about. And so finding a way to balance that throughout the month is more kind of like as you get closer to the month, you're starting to work out those details. And you're working with the art team, our phenomenal art director, Elliot Ling, to bring it all together, like in terms of like the vision, like the creative side to the game. How do we what is it going to feel like when the player comes into? So once we're through the planning stage, then we go into what we call the production stage, which is we're building it, we're making the configurations, we're setting all the game events. Boom, we've got a month of content ready for the player. That the important thing is it doesn't stop there. The important thing is as we get to the week of, we're seeing where the game's at from a business standpoint. We see how is revenue doing, how is engagement doing, what are the players responding to, what are they not. And that's where I think one of the most important sauces is we're not afraid to make changes to the plan. Even though we've had months of work and pre-production that have gone into this plan, we're not saying we're locked into this. And so we'll make a series of changes. We'll work with the game team, which is why it's so important that everybody's together, because this has to happen very efficiently. And you want to deliver that context to the team face to face, so you get all the nonverbal cues and everything. And we'll redraft a plan. We'll make some pivots. We'll add store sales, store logic changes based on where the players are at. But we'll do things like we'll tweak the events that we're running. Like maybe players are falling behind in the progression, so it's an opportunity to give them rewards like more diamonds for their Diamond Pass season. All sorts of stuff like that that we do on a weekly basis. And then when it gets to hourly, you are looking at things that like either moving up sale times, changing offers that you're giving players because they're playing a lot more than we expected over a given weekend. You're either decreasing the level of difficulty of challenges, you're adding new challenges. You are adding stuff to the calendar, but when we're talking hourly, we tend to do stuff that's like what we call like our we call audibles. A lot of us are football fans, so it's almost like calling an audible, like, hey, there's something different than we planned, let's call an audible. And then that drives okay, we need to retune something, and we get it into the game. So the team is crazy. Like, if we can get an audible into the game in like 15 minutes from like conception to in the player's hand, that's because we lean on like pre-built like designs and configurations that we can release at given moments.
What's an example of an audible?
A great example is, okay, hey, players are like, engagement is low. We didn't actually know, like, we didn't anticipate. We're playing the game. I guess I'm going to take a step back before I answer your question, just really underline the importance of, like, at SciPlay, of also playing the game. That's something that everybody is expected to do. So as we play the game, it's different when you're playing it in pre-production. It's different when you're designing it in your whiteboarding solutions. When you have it in your hand and you try to put yourself truly in the player's shoes, you can understand things that there are gaps. And so some people play the game like, hey, there's nothing really, it just doesn't feel like there's something for me to chase as a player. There's nothing like I really care about. And so a good example would be like, we'll add a quest that gives a player like a wild card, which is like party cards. It's a wild card is a very valuable thing to the player because they could substitute any collectible with it. So if you're ever stuck on a set, you have that opportunity. And if if the game feels like it's just missing something, and it is in line with like some of the data that we're seeing, where the engagement looks low, that is an audible we might call, where we add a single quest for a player, a challenge to be able to get this rare item, and then we would get that in the game within an hour. And so we'll respond to the data. And I think the reason I brought up the play side of stuff, because I mean, SciPlay is called SciPlay for a reason. It's part science, it's part data, but it's part play, it's part feeling the game. And so there is a level of intuition sometimes with those calls, but you can normally see it be backed by the data that we actually track. So
This is fascinating, and thanks for underlining this, because you have planning and goal setting on monthly content. You got the production going on all the time, so development of the actual features. You got measurement going on all the time.
yep.
That leads to adjustments that is daily, that is weekly, that is, well, daily and weekly mostly. And then there's releases, and everything happens at the same time. So the people who are planning for the future content are probably also doing the measurement and adjusting the current content. And so there's, you're planning for the future, you're acting on today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a constant cycle. It's a very busy life for sure for anybody on LiveOps. But if you're the type of person that loves that environment, loves the challenge, and loves that pace, it's an amazing environment. So.
Do you miss new game development?
That's a great question. Sometimes, yeah, for sure. Like, that's one of the, like, from out of the basis of like being able to create something from scratch, there's a level of just like excitement that comes with it. So yeah, there's definitely, I can't say no, I don't miss that from time to time. I try to approach everything, like everything that we have, like a new game development. I recognize how new it is to the game team. That's why I try to coach on the team. Like, you have people who have been on the game team. Like, I've been here for 17 years. There's a lot of people, like engineers, like Michael, our director of engineering, Michael Gassman, has been here. I'm going to say it at least 10 years, it feels like. And so everyone in the game team, you've got to look at, yeah, we're on the same product, but everything we do is changing that product dramatically. And so it's recognizing and finding the challenge and finding the new in everything we do on Jackpot Party. And I think that helps us be successful because we don't get complacent at what we do on the game. I think that helps drives our success.
Regarding that, do you think a person who is in such a grind of live ops has the right skill set for new game development, and vice versa? Somebody who's really thinking about how to build this product out of nothing can actually think about this super reactive live ops grind.
No, it's not for everybody. I like people get, for sure. I've absolutely saw that. It's definitely a different mindset. I think if you can do both sides of it, I would advocate anybody who is in games should try to do both sides, because there's a huge value in somebody who understands both styles of development. And if you could do both well, like, that's like a unicorn. But there are definitely people like producers, for example. Like, we've had people who are very project minded. They like long-term projects. They want to do a risk-based approach, plan out this long thing, and they're not typically huge advocates of change. They like to have their plan and follow it through. So we've had issues where it's just like a right brain, left brain thing. It just doesn't work. So you have to recognize that as a leader and say, this is not going to be the right role for that person. For sure. There are definitely people who are fit better in the spot, but I would always try to push and challenge people to be outside of their comfort zone and say, even if you prefer to be here, you should try both sides, because it's just great to get that experience. Kind of going back to what helps people grow in their careers.
Which one is the better way to start your career in games? Live game or new game?
I would say live game, because I think you put yourselves in the player's footsteps the best. I'd say that's if I'm a startup, if I'm building a game from scratch, I'm thinking about my live ops processes and my live services. I'm thinking about how I'm going to build a team around that, because to me today, the live game is everything. And at the end of the day, it's what you're providing. So you understand the features you're going to build better if you live in that environment where you are manage it and operate in the game. So when you go back to build those features, you try to avoid some of the mistakes I've made personally, where I've built a feature just thinking about how awesome this is in a vacuum, in a silo, and I don't think about the impact that happens when it's like tossing a stone in water. It's going to reverberate. It's going to make changes throughout the whole game. When you live in live ops, you're constantly thinking about the big picture. You're thinking about the player experience, and you take those experiences to build your feature. Your feature is going to be better, I guarantee. So long story short, that I would definitely start in live ops. It's probably the easier adjustment to make too.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's very descriptive. You can ship a lot in a very short amount of time. And most importantly, to me, at least from the product side, you understand that how to build a player journey and what different features are almost like milestones in that, like you would, like player level is the most typical one, but you don't understand that it's really important because I need to measure player level against wallet, player level against this element, player level against that element. It's my measuring stick, it's my milestone. That's why I need this feature, even though you might not seem it as important. Just a small example of things. And you wouldn't know that unless you were actually ciphering the data and adjusting based on it, and then cursing that you don't have a milestone stick to actually segment your players correctly.
For sure. Absolutely.
Well, Justin, I'm going to let you go, but last thing, why should people join you in Cedar Falls, and what kind of people you're looking for?
If you look, you should join people in Cedar Falls if you love making games. I think the people that we have assembled, that one, we have the right level of understanding of what makes great games, and that's great people, and building an environment where great people can be empowered and make an impact, and doing it together. I know it'll be fun. We build a really fun environment. Like I truly believe a product is a reflection of the environment it's built in. So if you're having a good time, if you're enjoying your job, your product is going to be more enjoyable. And so I think anybody who joins our team in Cedar Falls is going to find that fun that we're trying to find in the game. You're going to be challenged if you're looking for a challenge. The people who come to Iowa are hardworking people, and that is a real thing. And if you're somebody who is goal driven, wants to make an impact, and be part of one of the best games in mobile gaming, Cedar Falls is the right spot. So.
And there's, of course, SciPlay has many other locations than Cedar Falls. You got Austin, you got Tel Aviv, you got a location in Turkey, and probably many more that I'm not into in accounting. But what we know is the company is growing year over year and has an amazing culture and people who come and stay for pretty much their entire careers, as it looks like.
Yeah, we hope that's our goal. When people come to the company, I hope I'm one of many stories of rather than building the exception, trying to build people who are in it for the long term and never feel the urge and need to leave, because it's just an amazing experience.
Well, thank you, Justin, for sharing your experiences, your insights, and can't wait to follow your Cedar Falls studio growing and thriving even more.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on, by the way. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Justin's information in the description below. So connect if you want to work with him or at SciPlay.
Thank you.